1, 2, 3, 4.
G'day guys, and welcome back to Roadside, presented by Zwift. This is our pro cycling talk show, balancing the serious with the hilarious. Of course, Jethro Nagel here with you, Jethro Gammy Nagel, and Tom McCracken. Tommy, we've got a packed schedule today, and I can't wait to get stuck into it, mate.
First things first, how often are you getting your name wrong now that you're married? That was straight off the top there. Megan.
It's Gammy-Nagel. It is hard though, because you change what your name is for your whole life, and then now you're adding another name in. So, Tommy, this episode, the second one here, Roadside, presented by Zwift. We've got a big episode. We're talking about inside the Pirelli news. We've got a stacked schedule. TDU, they've got a new one-day women's race. We're going to chat about Cavendish's official retirement.
He's done.
Sammy Welsford and Kell O'Brien, what do they do after Olympic gold? And we also discussed the best places to get your cycling news in 2024, Tommy.
It's not going to be here, is it?
Well, no, it will be. But, hey, what about some personal stuff first? Because we said last episode, particularly those who listened right to the end, there was a lot going on in the personal world.
I want to know. It was absolutely blowing a gale on Sunday. You raced. You pinned a number on what for the first time in, I don't know, a decade, mate. How did you go in the C grade? C grade at Splendid Park, north of Perth for everybody. It's right on the coastline, picturesque. But I reckon it would have been gutter to gutter.
I don't know about picturesque, absolute June. It's June 3 out there. It's absolute sandstorm. But look, I got it all wrong. The comeback was not good. I got chapeau, first of all, to the C graders, because the C grade of today is like the B grade of 5 years ago. Seriously, I rolled in and I thought we'd just be rolling around like a big old blob. Oh no, mate. This race was pinned to the gutter for 45 minutes straight, and we had crosswinds the entire time. And here's me lining up at the back of the field, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to shotgun this whole race at the back, and I'll just roll in, take the sprint at the end. Mate, the first lap, I reckon we didn't go under 45k an hour for the first 3 laps, and this is the greatest part of it.
C-grade doing 45.
Bro, we were hooking. There's 48 kilometre an hour laps in that race. Seriously. And the wind smashes from the side. And I've rolled up after the 3rd lap. There's a little bit of a lull. And I've rolled in. I've said something to the effect of, you effing C's are training for this? I can't believe it. and then the little breakaway goes. And when I say break, I mean like 10 riders. And we never saw them again. We couldn't chase them. Everyone was guttering each other trying to chase. And, mate, I was just in the bin. So the comeback was an absolute flop.
You rode out there. I saw you rode out there. It's a good hike out there.
65K.
Did you ride back? Obviously, that wasn't a good idea to ride out before you raced.
Well, because it'd been so long since a long road ride, I was gauging my fitness on that way in, and it was crosswind the whole way.
Gauging your fitness on the way into a race.
That's right, mate. Yeah, and I did look across to
the brain's trust.
Yeah, I looked across to Campbell, young Campbell McDowell, who was he was riding with me and Megan, of course, and Lauren, and I said to him, I thought, about 40 k's in, the legs were feeling a little sore. But I should have known, because we had crosswinds the whole way. I should have known what the race was going to be. But anyway, Tommy, there's another race coming up on the 8th of December. It's an industrial circuit. I've got more faith, because even though I got kind of, booted to Group 2 in that race, I've got faith that I actually raced pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how I pulled up.
Snivelling on the wheels.
Yeah, no, I pulled a few turns. I was actually okay. So I think with the right conditions, the win is possible.
You could be in the race. You just want to be in the race, to be honest. You just don't want to be getting shelled. Like myself, I was on Swans, shout out Swan Drafting Cycle Club, best social group out there on Wednesday, and I just got absolutely shelled. Ended up in the group with Megan, because she was absolutely flying. She was absolutely moving, and I was Lanterne Rouge, and I was holding on to her. She was the shepherd guiding me through this lap of the river.
And very quick to torture as well. She got home. Says, Tommy's got dropped. I saw him.
Oh, did she? Oh. I'm going to take back everything nice I just said about her. She can,
So, there's a lot we both got a lot of training to do, and I've got something about my training later on, because I'm bloody motivated.
Also, how was the Dirty Warnie?
Oh, Dirty Warnie. We had that. That's right. We had that.
What a win. What a win by a couple of big names there, hey?
Yes. Dirty Warm was amazing. The best edition yet. I was umming and ahhing whether or not it would even come back for the third edition, but this edition was the best by a mile, and very, very high chances that it's going to be back for the fourth next year, Tom.
Is it better than 7?
It's
Question without notice, that one.
No, what I would say, and what I say to everyone when I'm out there on the mic talking to all the riders and stuff, is that Dirty Warm is the only event that I want to ride instead of commentate. And 7 is great, and it's an amazing race, and one of the best gravel races in the world. But I've ridden most of those roads. It's really only a few of the private roads that I haven't yet. But the Dirty Warning course, man, 246 kilometres. It's pretty sweet. I really like it. So it was cool. Great events. The women's race was pretty cool. Tala Nayland won in a sprint by like half a tyre in the women's. And we saw Big Scotty Bowden, the Tasmanian.
Good to see him get up.
Yeah,
I like him. He's a bit of a journeyman. Good to see him top step of the podium. Shout out.
Yeah, it was really good. He is a journeyman. That's a great way of saying it, Big Scotty. But all the riders at the end, particularly in the elites top sort of 20, they were all crying when they crossed the line.
Joy?
Wow, no, more like just emotional. They were emotionally empty.
How long is it? How long is the Dirty Warning? Because we know the Melbourne Warrnambool is the longest race going around here in Australia. I won't linger too long on this, but what is it? How long is it?
Well, it's 246 Ks. So the elites are coming in 8-9 hours for men and women.
Oh, that's bleak.
And full gas too. Like they're racing at full gas. So they come across the line physically battered, but also their emotional battery is 0. So they just start crying. So it's actually an amazing spectacle to see as well.
Yeah, just struggling to get a few syllables out. Look, always a success. The Dirty Warning, the team behind it, they're pretty well renowned amongst the domestic scene for what they put out. For anybody out there as well, they put on Rattle Gravel as well.
Yep.
So
events. She's the goat. Big Karen. She's the goat, Tommy. They do a lot. And what about you, mate? You've got cricket coming up.
Oh, mate, I'm so excited about this. I'm so excited about this one, mate. West Test. I'm not a big cricket fan until it comes to the Test. So this weekend, off to the cricket on Saturday, day 2 with the boys. Funny story last year. We went to the West Test last year.
Is that what it's called? The West Test?
I don't know. They were trying to drum it up like that last year.
Okay.
And then there we are. It's a Friday. I think we went on a Friday as well. And then I was working radios in the morning, so I rolled in midday. The boys were already there. And they weren't on their best behaviour, And one of the boys, he kind of told his boss that he wasn't feeling too well that day.
Good one.
But his boss was a staunch cricket operator, and he was, like yourself, had the day booked off months in advance. I'm going to the cricket, can't wait. My mate's just going, I'm not going to run into him. There's going to be 25, 30,000 people. Sure enough, he's sitting 2 rows behind us.
Oh, really?
Yes, but fair play, came down, bought a round of Denzel Frothingtons, and he actually joined us for a couple. Yeah, mid-strength. So very, very excited. I'm umming and ahhing about jumping back into racing. You were trying to twist my arm last weekend, but I was
arm, mate. I was Chinese bird o'clock on you like all week.
No, I was too late to the game, mate. I was getting my best work done elsewhere. Over the wood. Yep. So that could be the case as well this weekend because Peel District, they're back.
And the 8th of December, that's the one I can do. I've got golf trip this weekend, so I can't do this one. But the next one on the 8th, I'm there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's in Mandurah.
Oh, well, I will not be there.
It's 50 Ks away. That's where we have to go 65 Ks north to race, or we've got to go 50 Ks south if we don't have the airport crip. But it's time to get stuck into the rest of our episode, Tommy. It's just Roadside, presented by Zwift.
Cycling's a bit of a weird one, Jet, but news never sleeps. They always go round and round and round in cycles. And what else goes round and round in cycles as well is Pirelli. We got our Pirelli Roadside News segment here, Jet. This is my favourite time of the week because I like looking. I just consume it all.
You do?
I consume it all and then I get to regurgitate it out here, mate.
Tommy News.
So, no, it's good. You got to know what's going on, mate. Otherwise,
I agree.
Summer of cycling is going to roll around and there's a lot of people just go, I thought he rode for there.
Yeah.
I thought she was on that team.
Navarrez, that was me last week.
Yeah, in the bin. Put that mindset in the bin.
Yep.
Start cluing in now. And there's been plenty happening. Like you said, mate, earlier on, Till Down Under, one of the best races on the calendar. First race on the calendar, new women's one-day race. and there'll be UCI points. This is the criterion that they put on every year. It's a showcase criterion. It hasn't meant anything. Diddly squat. Now it means something for the women. 200 UCI points. That is the best way to start your season. You win that, that is a great feeling.
Yeah, 100%. That's a big draw card for other teams. It's actually called the One Day Classic. It should be called the Pirelli One Day Classic.
It should be.
Really.
It should.
We won't say what it's actually called, but shout out to them for supporting them either way. But 200 UCI points is massive. Already they'll have the points on store for the TDU women's racing, which is great. But that 200 on its own, and I looked at the course. It's actually a fantastic spectator course. It's on the same day as the men's final stage, which comes back into the Adelaide City Centre. So it's going to be, a few people are upset about the lofty stage being removed, and that was a good spectacle too. But I like bringing the race into the city. It just gives people, especially on that last day after they've all been cooking themselves in the sun, riding out to the stage, it makes it easier. So I love it, and it just makes it even more enticing for a big name to come into TDU.
Just more races. I just think that's the sort of the trick to getting the teams down, because there's always that.
Yep.
And I noticed it last year. That was my first TDU last year. And speaking to some of the female riders, and they were just a little bit ticked off about how much time they actually did spend lingering around in Adelaide after their race, because they actually get moved out of the Hilton. They go find some sort of cheaper accommodation, still put on by the organisers. They do a great job.
Yep.
But then they were just kind of doing training rides, lingering around and sort of in this sort of, grey zone before they go to Geelong and Melbourne. So I remember we used to have the midweek kermesse or whatever on the F1 circuit. That was a great addition.
Oh, the Albert Park, yeah.
Yeah, that was always a great one to sort of tick things along a little bit when everyone's here. But I think this is a great opportunity. Get riders racing more. They're all here. They want to race. And to actually make the race mean something, yeah, big tick. Moving on though, both Tour de France routes, they have come out. We're still waiting for the Giro and the Vuelta. The Vuelta they've pushed back. That's owned by ASO, the Tour de France. So that's all organised. But the Giro is a bit of a funny one. For the route for the 2025 Giro d'Italia and the Giro d'Italia women, it's going to be presented in Rome. It was supposed to be presented on November the 12th, but there was, mate, technical delays was the inverted commas response. We're still waiting on things to come out. But look, the news going around is it's going to start in Albania and finish in Rome. So they're taking it again offshore.
Albania?
Yeah, search that one up if you want, mate. I know you're great with the geographical capitals of our world. But look, December the 19th, that'll be coming out for the Vuelta, whilst the Giro is still being sort of slowly cooked up, so to speak. We're still waiting to see when that's coming out.
The Albania, that's actually not too bad, because that's kind of similar when they did the stages in
Hungary.
Well, in Hungary,
Budapest.
but what's that little island they have? Is it Sicily? Or no, what's the island?
Just looking at the cog between your
Sicily.
eyes,
I was
mate.
thinking of Sicily. It's right down the end. It's the bit on the end of the boot. It's like the little rubbish bag they kick at the bottom of the boot, if you're looking at that. It's not a rubbish bag. It just looks like a rubbish bag if you zoom in on the maps. But anyway, Albania is behind the heel, and they just cross a small body of water. That's not too bad for the carbon footprint, Tommy, for those who are interested in that.
Yeah, it sort of rivals, if not what the TDF have put out this year, which is probably not the greatest. I'm not going to lie. It's probably a massive step back in what has been a pretty good step forward in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I think they start in the north in the Tour de France, and they really sort of meander southwest, southeast, and then go back up to Paris. So it's more of your classic route that we've seen over a number of years. But I don't know, mate. Just I like how the Giro and they start outside of Italy, but there is a big pull now these days to just go, no, it's got to be a little bit like greener, so to speak. And the riders are just, mate, you're pinned.
Yeah.
They're pinned. They're tired. The staff. Yeah, the staff. Oh,
remember when it went to Israel?
Yeah, big setup.
Crazy.
You see all the articles come out and they're, the riders, we missed the plane was delayed. You're like, mate, some bloke's probably driving a van from Israel to the Dolomites. Like, mate, what are you
TT bikes?
But in more sad news as well, British cycling. Over the last couple of years, it's slowly been dying, mate. It's slowly been dying, hasn't it? You know,
it has.
They've 5, 6 massive Conti teams. The latest to join the death row, so to speak, Trinity Racing. one of the best teams going around. They're reducing their output to only being a mountain biking team.
Really?
Mm.
Jeez.
So that's kind of like the sort of the specialised sort of thing that's going to be keeping them going. But as a result, it's a pretty late sort of occurrence as well. I think there was a bit of belief, sort of maybe externally, that the team was going to keep going, but internally it was always on the doors. Peter Kenyak, he was one of their directors. He's off to Astana.
Astana, yes.
He just signed, so he joins Alec Dowsett as the high performance manager.
Yep.
So they're strengthening their sort of off-road roster, so to speak. But it leaves someone who is in the green and gold out without a team at the moment. I'm really interested to see where he lands. Fergus Browning.
Oh, yeah.
Under 23 national champion. He was sensational. I remember when we saw him at the Melbourne Warrnambool riding as a soloist. He had a good year. He had a hot start to the season as well. He found, a few podiums here and there in France in the first half. And he is a rider that if you are another Conti team with an elite setup, you would go, this kid is good. We want him on our books because I reckon he's going to go World Tour the year after next.
Oh, yes, 100%. Fergus Browning is an absolute beast. He won that stage. What was it? It was the French race. It was Tour de Land stage, UCI 2.1, and he won the first stage.
He won it. He hit out the last couple of Ks, hit out, and he just held off a rampant peloton.
Yep.
And the photo on the line, it actually looks like he's dusted him up in a sprint.
His Pithy's
and he's this tiny,
sourced Pithy, yeah.
So he's this tiny little climber TT of sort, and then there's these big boys and it looks like he's got them on the line, but he hasn't.
That's the perfect photo. But yeah, that's a worry for riders like him. But he will have teams lining up for him. But that problem that you might have mentioned before, or we've talked about it earlier this week, is that it's just people have filled their riders already when they've allocated
rosters are full.
Yeah.
It's November. Deals are happening. We talk about deals in the World Tour. They're happening before the Giro, the big dogs. They're happening at the early season training camps. Whereas for these riders, it's happening mid-year or, September at latest. But it just, I asked the question and I was, a few sources have told me why, and it's not super clear why Ineos did not absorb Trinity Racing. Ineos this week, and this is news, they've announced a German partnership with the German UCI Continental team, Lotto Kerner House PSD Bank. They've produced some good riders, Tarling, Max Walscheid amongst them, but Trinity was inherently British. And it was one of the few teams, in my opinion, this might differ, they actually made me want to watch or pay attention to under-23 ranks at a deeper level. I enjoyed the content they put out.
Yep, I agree.
So they were changing the game a little bit. I'm a bit irked that Ineos didn't just pick them up. They've signed this deal with this German outfit, and I've just heard that money talks. I've heard that they'll sort of like go in, clean the house. They haven't even announced a roster for next year. That's how raw this deal is.
Jeez.
But look, it is what it is. I'm to be a fly on the wall in those boardroom talks, mate.
Juice. Just a mechanic just putting on a little Pirelli race tyre perhaps in the background, and you just hear a little bit of news and you might share it with the Simoni who's just massaging the calf.
In terms of rider focus, Garner.
Oh,
your boy, Top Garner.
Top Garner.
He's honing in entirely on the road. Now, I reckon that makes a lot of sense. It was back end of the Olympic cycle. How keen are you to see Big Sammy Welsford and O'Brien park the track bike and do the same?
Oh, well, I've got points on both of those. But for Garner, it kind of reminds me of when Tony Martin said he was going to focus on the classics. And it didn't work because Tony Martin probably didn't really have an anaerobic fibre in his body. It did not work. And I also think maybe he was a little bit scared because he did have quite a few crashes. And when you got to go targeting the classics, you got to be prepared to go in there at 55, 60k an hour, into the bottleneck, into the Arenberg, into the corners that are the key points of the race. Full noise. You cannot be scared. Got to be a madman. Didn't quite work for Tony, but for Garner, I like it because he's more than his TT. He's more than his IP. He can sprint. He's won, the C grade level sort of bunch sprints in the UCI. He's obviously got a big turn of speed, and he can also climb. He's got extended power that he can climb. So,
do you remember when he won the stage in the Giro? Bucketing down rain, and he was in a breakaway, and he just rode the breakaway.
Yeah.
He dropped everyone on the climb. It was like when Wout went over one of the big ones. The name eludes me, but he absolutely just decked everybody in the breakaway. Said, "Oh wow,
I like it. I like his chances. Focusing on the classics and more on the road as well. I think he's going to be good. I do think he's going to be good. But Welsford and O'Brien's a great thing because now they've got their gold medal. Okay, they've got their gold medal.
It's in the bank. The TP.
That's the holy grail. The Olympics, Paris. Tommy, I was there. I said everyone, Megan and I were there at that gold medal write-off. It was amazing. I can't stop saying it. But for Welsford, right? Actually, Welsford last. Kell O'Brien. He's got two options. This is what I think with Kell. A great guy, so kind, so humble. In New York too, I've seen on the socials with Ali, just having a nice little off season. Love
Good
it.
on him. Well deserved.
I think Kell, he can either go down the Skotson Road, where he attaches himself to a top sprinter and he is the key lead out. Because Kell could be 2, 3 or 4 in that lead out, position 2, position 3, position 4. And he could be so useful just focusing on that. Or he could maybe target the classics. He's had a couple of good results in a few of the smaller classics, the Dwars Doors, a Lesser Min. I think it was his best result.
That was one of his top
in
results.
The wet and windy. He's obviously got the ability to do that because you can't do that by accident. So focusing on those smaller sort of classics, I think is really good. And then maybe classic support for the big dogs if Jayco have them. But and I want to hear your view after this as well, but for Welsford, I think has the biggest ceiling of all of them. I think he's one of the fastest in the world just out of the box, off the couch. All he has to do is just lift his aerobic base, get to more sprints fresher, and when Sammy's going well, Tom, when he's got the Geraint Thomas pointy nose. When Geraint Thomas has a pointy nose, he's in form,
pointy nose.
He's lean. Yeah, have a look at him. Have a look at him when he's not in the tour and he's sort of in, Guinness shape outside the tour. And then have a look at him when he's at the tour and he's leaned up. He's got a very pointy nose, but it's not pointy when he's average. And it's same with Welsford. He has a pointy nose when he's leaned up like in the summer. But this is what Welsford should do, all right? And I don't like this. WA doesn't like this. South Australia will not like this.
Not come to down under.
Sam Welsford needs to skip the Australian summer. If he wants to win stage of the Tour de France, he needs to skip the Aussie summer because you just can't peak in summer like you need to and then go and do it again in July. It doesn't work, and history's shown it's very hard to do.
No, I think you're right. Everyone always talks about how good it is to be able to, come down to Australia in the sun. If you don't get results and you're cashing a blank check. If you come down to TDU and you don't get results and you're in form, you have just wasted a big block of the season coming up because you are just simmering at the moment.
Yeah.
And you're about to be taken off the stove. And you are just without races because that's just how the season operates, so to speak.
Yeah, and a lot of resources too, because if you're the leader of that team, like Welsford would be, you have to perform. They've sent over an entire lead out. You've got Van Poppel and Mullen there with you. They've travelled across the globe out of there, taken their off-season away from them as well. So they're going to have to try and find it, make it work in July or June, July, whenever. So it's a big thing. But for Welsford, I think particularly, he does have the highest ceiling. He needs to skip the Aussie summer. I don't know if
Has he done a Grandy?
Yeah, he did the tour a couple of years ago, remember? They
he did too. Yeah.
They got the lead out all wrong.
Has he done the Giro?
I don't know. Let's have a look.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's sitting around refreshing the inbox waiting for RCS to send out what the Giro route is going to look like because obviously we know Red Bull, they're just going to go, right, we're going to the Tour de France with the big ROG. That's a lock. We know that'll happen again this year. Now, when the Giro route, this is why I bring it up earlier, is it's realistically, this is what a lot of the teams are planning their season around.
Yeah.
And riders like Welsford, the big wombat, he's going, do I want to go to TDU? Is the Giro going to be too hard? How many sprinters did we see even go to the Vuelta this year? None, because it was so bloody hard.
I can remember who was at the Vuelta, to be honest. Told me
your head was in the bin, wasn't it, mate?
It wasn't. It was just, does anyone remember what happens at the Vuelta? I don't know. But I remember, and I can't remember if we talked about this with Sammy. Of course, we had a great episode there at TPR at the start of the year after his first win too. There was no accident timing that. But I think he was planning on going to the Giro because I just looked it up and there was an article saying the team, they didn't pick him. And remember, their quote was, we've still got big goals for him. Of course, a long-term plan. So I think this year you've got to send him.
I think you do. It's not a question of if. I think you've just got to send him. Yeah. Go on, get a couple of results. How good's that going to be? Big Johnny Milan if he goes back again, and Welsford. Now they're genuine powerhouses. Milan mopped the floor with everybody else at the Giro last year. He did. He was out and out the best sprinter, had the best lead out train as well. And I think if you go with Welsford there, that is going to be a very interesting battle.
Milan. I just love the name Milan. When Rob Hatch says it, Milan. It'd be crazy. And also I don't think Jonathan Milan, I don't know. I reckon he's he looks tough. He's big. He's strong. We've seen him yell at a few people when we slapped that cameraman out of his face one time, I think, earlier in the year. I love that. But I think when the going gets tough in the lead out, I think he's actually a bit soft. I reckon he's softer than he looks. And Welsford's hard as nails. So that will be a juicy battle. But keen to hear what everyone else thinks, Tommy. So maybe this is a good chance to plug our mailbag section at thepressroompodcast at gmail.com. That's where you can email in or send us a DM on the podcast page on Instagram. Let us know what you think. What should Welsford do? What should he do? Should he skip the Aussie summer? Is that necessary for his success in Europe? And what about Kell O'Brien? What type of rider will he be? And what does he need to focus his next move of his career on? And should he stay at Jayco? That's another interesting topic. But Tommy, that was the Pirelli roadside news. Now, Pirelli, like I say every episode, they make the F1 tyres. That's why they are the GOATs, right? But today's tyre that we're chatting about is the P0 race tyre. Perfect for you and me, Tommy, now that we're getting into the race. No, we are, but let me tell you about
Game of Watts, mate. Game of Watts.
It is a game of Watts,
Yeah.
and Ryan Mullen will tell you. I never actually released this podcast because it was kind of shit, but I did one with Mullen a few years ago, and he said the biggest advantage with upgrades and tech and equipment and all that sort of stuff was the tyres. That was the biggest advancement that saving watts or gaining watts was made in the tyres. You've got two of them, and you could lose or gain up to 20 watts through rolling resistance, etc., and speed. But P0, the race, they are a great tyre. They also got a good punch protection. The Tech Belt Carcass.
I love it. Yeah, that's a good name. Now, that's
so
someone
good.
in the branding department has hit. They deserve a bonus.
They do. They do. And I actually was a very early adopter to Pirelli when they first came back into road cycling years ago. It must have been 2014. I think I bought
You on them early.
I was on them early, mate. I bought them from Bike Force Clarkson. I was a beta tester, and they were so soft. I remember I could pull them over the rim like with one. But the problem was, or maybe it's just because I was living in Clarkson, and it's not a great suburb back in the day. I was just finding myself, everyone. But they just didn't. They weren't very puncher protection, right? They're never very good puncher protection. They're all about the speed. And anyway, I parked them because I was getting too many flats. This was 2014. Then I came back in 2020, and boy, oh boy, had they made some massive improvements, mainly just with the durability. So the P0 race, not only is it a race tyre that is built from all the technology down from F1, but it's also made for the long leisure rides, Tommy. So it's not all about racing. It's just a bloody good tyre.
Now I got to get myself a set. Popped a big skiddy. Had to rip the rear brake when I got dropped from this group. So it squared off last Wednesday. What I've got at the back on the moment. So yeah, shout out Pirelli, mate. I need a set. So look, let's grab a set. Let's get some in the mail, mate.
I'll get some in the mail. I've got another fresh gravel set in the shed. But
you said you'd fit them as well. You said you'd fit them last ep because you didn't win.
That's in my in the gun later. All right, that's all the news. This is Roadside, presented by Zwift, Tom McCracken, Jethro Gammy Nagel.
Well, no, I hope my Pirelli tyres, mate. I hope they're in the mail, Jet. Obviously, the biggest news of the week, though, I don't even know. Is this news? It's been going on for so long. I'm kind of a bit over it, mate. Cav, he's done. And there was everyone who was riding up, Cav's last race at the Singapore Criterium. Put that in the bin, mate. Not a race. That's a pay packet. That's going to the office, clocking in, clocking out. Good on him. They earn a crust. I respect that. I respect that for Cav and everyone who does the post-tour crit. Good on him. But he's done and dusted, mate. What's your take on Cav, his retirement to his journey to retirement? It's been a long one, but also what's your fondest take of Cavs?
Well, everybody listening knows that I'm a massive Cav fan. I love Cavendish. I love riders that go through adversity, come back, people doubt them, and they don't care. They just keep charging and they make their way back. And Cav proved he is the GOAT, and he proved to all those people that gave up on him, particularly at Bahrain, McLaren, and also, it really just showed something to those who did show faith in him. But I think it's great. I mean, it would have been awesome if he just finished his retirement after the Tour de France this year. But the Singapore criterium, hey, if they want to give him a couple $100,000 to do that.
You reckon it would have been that much?
Oh, easily, mate. Easily. Have a look at the website. You have a look at the website, see all the partners and sponsors and stuff going on there. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know if they're giving Alexei Lysenko many cash there on his smaller riders, or not Lysenko, Vinokurov to come in fifth.
Yeah.
But no, I like it. And one thing that I remember through Cav, after he was dumped by Bahrain McLaren, I remember he was one of the last people to come through during the Tour de France when he got he didn't make the time cut. He came in, I think, an hour and a half after the time cut. He was destroyed. He still had Epstein-Barr. He didn't even know that he still had it. And I think Rod Ellingworth, his original OG coach from the young under-23 British Cycling Academy days, he stayed. Everything was getting packed up. CCB was getting packed up, banners taken down, everything packed away. It was almost a desert there. But Ellingworth stayed. He stayed there with him just to be there for him as he came across the line. He was finished. And I knew he would come back. There was obviously something wrong with him. And this was the moment. I followed every race he was in and watched every finish, even when those sprints, he was nowhere near it. I was still watching. And the moment I knew he was going to come back was in 2019, Tour of Turkey.
I was watching this.
Well, I don't know if it was
on
this
a dodgy
one.
Tiz stream.
Tiz Cycling. Hey, they looked after us for a long period there. It was 2019, not when he won the stages of Tour of Turkey. I was watching that too. Megan was in the shower and I was like, yelled out, Megan, get out of the shower because Cavs just won. But it was the year before, 2019. And previously, leading up to this, Cav had not been able to get out of the wheel. In fact, he wasn't even in the top 10 wheels when the sprint was being opened up.
He was like you at Splendid Park, wasn't he?
That's
he was
right,
just
trying to close the gap. But this was stage, I think it was stage 3, was the first race that I've seen in 2 years where Cav he was there in the top 5 when the sprint was about to open up, and he actually stepped out of the wheel. He stepped out of the wheel, got round 1, and he finished 3rd behind Jakobsen and Sam Bennett, I think, who won. And before, when Cav is not in it, he just rides past, goes to his bus, and that's it. This time, you could tell he was stoked. He had something. He stepped off the wheel to come around. He didn't obviously get around Jakobsen and Bennett, but he stepped off. He was back. And he stayed around the boys. He congratulated Bennett. This is when he was with Quick Step the first year there. Shook hands with Jakobsen, of course, but you could see he was back. And that lit the fire. And it was the following year he did the stages of Turkey, then he went to the Tour, and the comeback started then, Tom.
And it's done. It's all over. It's all over Red Rover. He would have to go down as one of the greatest sprinters of all time. Would you say
He is.
the best sprinter?
Yeah.
Are you going to go out and say that?
Well, it's a no question. He's the best sprinter. No one even near him. I mean, not only did he win, but he would finish the tours as well. Not like bloody Cipollini. He'd win the first 6 bloody sprint stages, then he'd go to the beach. And then, a funny story about Chippo that I've heard from, I think, Matt White, the Jayco dude. He said that I think the Giro, they used to stack like 7 sprint stages in a row. And old Chippo would roll in with a zebra skin suit. He'd win all 7 of them, You Beauty with a lead-out train, fully juiced. And then he would – well, he was.
Yeah.
Then he'd go nut, hit the mountains, see you later, DNF. And when they're in the 3rd week, Matt White was in the Gruppetto. And he's riding up in the Gruppetto, just grovelling on these climbs. And who's he see coming down the hill? They're going up. No shirt, railing the corner. Cipollini, mate. No shirt on. They're in the bin of the Gruppetto. And Chippo's on holiday with the shirt out, railing the descent. So he's the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. But I found this really cool stat page on Twitter from VeloFacts, right? I think they post little stats and stuff all over the place on Twitter. But have a look about this. The top riders that started in the same peloton as Mark Cavendish throughout his career. His great mate and always the person he would share a room with, Bernie Eisel. 513 races they started together, and that is out of 1,300 races. Pretty good.
That's a lot of nights in a hotel together.
Can you guess, Tommy, any of the next top 10?
Out of great pairings.
No, these are
Right.
these are the people that have started. Any riders that have started in the same peloton as Cav in those 1,347 races that Cav has raced.
Bernie
Ice was number one?
Eddie Bosenhagen.
Oh no, but that's a good guess.
Oh, and is there any Luke Rowe?
No,
Geraint Thomas.
Thomas is number 4. Think about his lead out.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
He's got his bike store. Loves Bathurst. Mark Renshaw.
Renshaw. Yeah, yeah.
He's
yeah,
number
yes,
2.
Yes.
I'll read out the
Of
rest.
course, Renshaw. Yeah, put me out of my misery, please.
The
Come on.
Shark, Nibali is there.
Oh.
The Shark, I love the Shark. The Shark Messina. Lars Bach, he came and raced a cyclocross race here in Perth last Bach, didn't he? Or was that Lars Boom?
That's Lars Boom because he's
okay.
great mates with Graham Brown. Lars Boom.
The Gorilla, love Andre
Of
Greipel.
course, he was part of the HCC
Yep.
outfit.
GVA, Greg Van Avermaet, that's what
Mm-hmm.
my one of my cats is called. Fabian Cancellara and Mickey Shah. Mickey Shah, not bad.
Big Mickey Sharp, big unit.
And what about this, Tom? I'll give you one more. Actually, here we go. There's quite a few stats on this page, but most races per country. What would you say the country that he's raced the most in?
It would have to be Italy, I think.
It is France by 3 races. He's done 257 race days in France, 254 in Italy.
Oh, it's pretty close because I know he lived in Italy. I know he was very fond of northern Italy for a large part of his career. He lived there, trained out of there, loved it. So I thought that might have been his calling. 3 days, I'll take that. No, the good shout. Good. I'm going to miss Cav. I'm going to miss one of the great sprinters. He was humble in defeat. But geez, he was proud in victory as well. And he supported his team.
Yeah, no, he did. He always supported those who looked after him. So, Cav, good on you, mate. And hopefully we keep seeing him in the cycling world after that.
Are you a follower of the cyclocross season?
I am.
Yeah, of course you are, because you absolutely love the off-road scene. I like riding my gravel bike every now and then, but I'm just not about it, and it just does not seem to resonate with the audience. Maybe in Australia, maybe it's a time difference, but it's the same. It's the same. It's easier. It's only an hour long. Should be easier to follow, but it's just not.
Well, it's a lot harder now because of GCN. GCN made it so easy to watch the cyclocross and follow it because you could watch it whenever you liked. You know, you just watched it during the week if you missed it on the weekend. It was really easy to watch it. Now that GCN is gone, I don't really watch it anymore unless it's all the hitters are in at once. And to be honest, I only really care if Wout, Van Aert, Pidcock are all racing together. And
Are they racing? Are they racing each other?
I don't
this year?
think so. I don't think so. And I also like to see how Zoe Baxter's doing because she's now in the elite category and she's starting to sort of go towards the podium. She's a beast.
Snooze fest. That's what it is.
Well, I know, but I think last year or last season, MVDB and MVDP, Wout, Pidcock, I think there was 2 races of the entire season they actually came together against each other and they're not even in the same sort of wave of form. So it's whoever wins, it's like, well, Wout was the first time he raced his bike, that sort of stuff.
Good on him. I don't know, mate. Not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. Never will be. Look, I love the cross scene that occurs here in Australia. I love going down to, the cross scene here when it's there. I do my best work from the sidelines. I know you're aware of
Handing
that.
beers up.
Oh, mate, I don't
pouring
hand them.
over
I'm grabbing
riders.
the beers, mate. I'm grabbing them off the riders. And then, shout out to the cross. I love it. But watching it and consuming it as a part of that media cycle, mate, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, no, for sure. What is my cup of tea, Tommy? As everyone's cup of tea on the indoor world is Zwift. They are the title sponsor of TPR. They are the title sponsor of Roadside as well. And we've got a lot of stuff happening over the summer, which we'll share in future episodes. But it's the 10 years of Zwift. That is the party. They've actually brought in, Tommy, the OG Island, Jarvis Island. You might not know what this is, but that was the OG beta testing world where you could ride on Zwift when they first created it. That is now coming back into Watopia, back into Zwift. So users now will be able to ride it. And speaking of ride, we are actually taking, our household, Megan and I, are taking delivery of the new Zwift Ride.
Ooh.
It has been, well, it must be on its way. They always say within a week, you never know, but we've got 2 Wahoo kickers, and now we're going to sell those and maybe buy a dishwasher. Megan will love that because I know she wants the dishwasher and I don't, but I think I'm coming round to it. And it's probably the first she'll hear about is on this. I'm coming around to the dishwasher. Anyway, we've got the 2 Wahoo kickers. I'm sick of putting the bikes on the trainer and taking them off, putting them back on.
Yeah, faff around. And you got a rim brake bike as well.
I hate it. Yeah, that's annoying. But the Zwift Ride, I was actually one of the first people to ride this in Australia. We had the launch with Zwift at RAF in Melbourne earlier in the year. We did one in Sydney as well. And I think there was even one in Japan. These things are amazing, Tommy. The Zwift Ride, they are amazing. They look great. The ride feel is awesome, stable as anything. And it's got, it doesn't have gears on the back, Tom.
No gears.
No gears. It's internal gearing, like electronic resistance. And you've got the Di2 shifters.
Oh, that's good. That's what you want.
And you can choose the gearing. If you want a 55-12 big dog, if you're doing the big, trying to get the KOM for the Alpe d'Huez descent, you can chuck that on. It's got all the buttons in there as well. So you can do your power-ups. You can do the, give the ride on, the thumbs up.
Yeah, like that,
It's all there, and the setting up is great because Megan and I will share this. You can choose, you can adjust it really easily.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you go moving your seat height then?
Yeah.
Is that a faff around?
It's so easy, man.
Okay.
So easy. Seat height, the setback, all the stuff. It's so simple. So the Zwift Ride, you can actually check out the link below to see the Zwift Ride. Take it from me. It's very well priced. And if you're sick of just taking your bikes on and off the trainer, this is it. Get the Zwift Ride and check it out. This is Roadside presented by Zwift. Jethro Gary Nagel and Tom McCracken. So, Tommy, we've got transfers on the table as well. I don't think we mentioned at the start of the pod, but everyone loves talking about transfers, and we're going to talk about which riders are going to pay off and who are going to flop in all the transfers. And I had to actually look on Cycling News and scroll through this gigantic table just to see all of the riders who have moved teams.
That would have been handy. Can you send that to me, mate?
It's on Cycling News. Seriously, I don't think riders move everywhere now. There never used to be this many transfers.
No, there always were, man, because even more so back in the day, because teams would just get put in the bin and then all of a sudden you just have like 30 riders who would go aqua blue. Scrambling for contracts.
Blue with the 3.2 Explorer. What the single. Do you remember Adam Blythe absolutely ripped Aqua Blue to shreds on that rubbish bike on a podcast?
I do. It was plastered everywhere.
You know who's the owner of Aqua Blue?
No.
Caleb Ewan's wife's dad.
That's right. Yep. No.
Irish guy.
No, I remember hearing about that.
I don't think it was his problem. I think he just underestimated how hard it is to ride a team. But I will start with I've got two transfers who will pay off this season. My first one is, or just who will pay off in general, because sometimes it takes a few years. First one is Ali Wollaston. Ali Wollaston, absolute beast. She signed with FG Suez to 2026. I'm sure that was sad for AG Insurance, but it would have been a money thing, and Ali's got to cash in. She's going to be an out-and-out superstar. I think Ali will pay off big time in the long term. Maybe start a little bit slower, depends if she does the other summer, but I reckon she's going to absolutely explode at the back end of this year, or next year, sorry, and the 3 years to come. She is a superstar. She can ride classics. She can win sprints. I mean, for God's sake, she won the world champion in the points and elimination, I believe, and smoked Kopecky.
Yeah, no, she's on for a big year. She's a phenomenal talent.
Superstar FGJ, really. I mean, Vollerin's a great signing, don't get me wrong, but I think Ali will be worth more in the long term. My second one who will do very well, I think Mark Hershey at Tudor. I think he's going to absolutely explode. I think
you reckon the home vibe going home to the Swiss team?
Well, he's there. He's got his manager Fabian, the big man. They can sauna together, and Fabian sauna with the towels and all that. That's an
image I did not need to see in my head.
No, because I was picturing him as sauna. He's got the rocks. He's got his Roubaix stones. Fabian. They're in his sauna. They're like set into these glass boxes in his sauna. So he sits there. He told everyone when we had him on last year. But anyway, I think Hershey is going to be really good. I think Tudor will use him very carefully with his race schedule to ensure that he wins regularly and takes plenty of points, because that's what they need him for, Tommy. Those are my two who I think will do well. Do you have yours?
Yeah, mate. Do I have mine?
You're searching with a thing.
I'm
now.
not searching at all, mate. I've got a few diamonds in the rough, mate. Don't you worry about that, mate. I'm absolutely set up. The little known name, you wouldn't have heard of him, Ben O'Connor.
I've only asked him like 3 times to be on the pod. He's just blanked. flanked me in the chat 3 times. I'm sorry, man. I just say you don't want to come on, brother.
No, Benny O'Connor, I reckon he's obviously going home to Jayco. He's going to be due for a big one. But another homecoming rider who I reckon actually could actually produce something out of pure frustration.
Pies in the chat for me and Benny. Pies.
No. Remy Cavagna.
Oh, okay, Remy.
He's off to FDJ.
Yep.
He's off to FDJ. He's had a couple of tumultuous years with Movistar, as you do. Everyone does when they go to Movistar. That's pretty clear.
Yep.
So, look, he's been with Quickstep for a number of years. He never really hit his peak. And he was always one of those elite time trial operators who was always there or thereabouts. And I just reckon, okay, you get him into FDJ. They have quite a good TT system with Stefan Kung, who they have put a lot of time into. So I think that is one of the riders that you could kind of go, okay, yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if he bobbles up and has a few World Tour victories throughout the year. But obviously, look, top of my list, mate. I'm really keen to see how Benny goes. As well as
we've talked about Benny. Remember what I was talking in the car a couple of weeks ago, and I said that he needs to get rid of forget Grand Tours, Benny. I would if I was Ben O'Connor and I was his management, his team, I would be focusing on one-day races only. I think he's a underrated one-day racer and a secret one-day specialist. He just doesn't know it yet, Tommy.
Oh, I reckon that's breaking news, mate. I don't even reckon he knows that, mate. I know he maxed out at around maybe 1,100 watts
That's
for
all
his
you
3
need.
seconds.
It's his durability.
Maybe.
I think he would win at Road Nationals this year if he turned up. He would win up Malcolm Street 14 times. He would win. He would win, Tommy.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if he comes home. I hope so, mate. Fingers crossed. Yeah. But look, also another one, Finn Fisher Black.
Oh, my
We
man.
talk about how big these organisations are at like UAE, Jumbo, obviously Visma Lease Bike. Yep. When riders go there, they just get better. I think that's going to start occurring a little bit more for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe in the years to come. They've clearly developed top quality riders,
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see how Finn Fisher Black goes, as well as your boy, Lawrence Pithy.
Oh, they're both bumping with a Kiwi club. That's what we are.
I'm really keen to see how those guys go. I reckon them alongside the likes, Jan Thrachnik, who's going there as well.
Oh, my God.
They're just bolstering their squad really nicely. But also, like, Pithy will go there after what he did at FDJ, and they'll go, mate, we're backing you. Let's just. You're so young. We've got you here for a couple of years. Let's just have a crack and see what you can come out with.
They're probably living in the Red Bull Centre. They've all heard about the Red Bull Centre. I'm sure they can go and train there and eat all their stuff. Perfect. What about flops, Tommy? What about flops? Because I've got one. This is a mildly brutal. Oh, no, it's not brutal.
Cycling, mate. There's a long list of flops, I reckon.
There's a long list of flops. And there were some easy targets on this list, Tommy. I won't read them out. There's some easy targets. But I actually think my flop that just won't work, it won't work at this team, is Ethan Hayter. He is going to Quickstep. I don't think Ethan Hayter will work at Quickstep because it's not a slight on Hayter. I don't have a problem with him. I think he is an unbelievably talented rider that we haven't even seen how consistently good he can be. But I think he's on the wrong team. I don't think Quickstep will have the patience for someone like Hayter. Because we saw when he was at Ineos Grenadiers, he does have the issue or the challenge of just trying to stay in the front all the time. He sort of sits at the back, and that's cost him a few, at least cost him a few finales to contest. But when he's there, he's a weapon. He's a point scorer. He's a winner. And I don't think Quickstep will have the patience to deal with those challenges. And I think also, he also has I think he's a bit more of an outward thinker, and he might need a bit more of an emotional support crew.
Rather than Patrick Lefebvre just being, why are you don't make the front
that's
group?
What he does when he pays money for a lot of people. He will say if he's unhappy, and I don't think that's the kind of feedback that Hayter will thrive in. I feel like he needs to go to a softer team like an EF or a Jayco. That seems more of a friendly
EF is still
vibe.
cutthroat, mate. EF are still incredibly results driven. Jonathan Vordes, he's never been one to shy away from that. As much as you still see this facade, it's very much of
true.
They do a good job, EF, of going, we're all about the riders and everything. We go, we love him.
Okay.
But I reckon they're still very much like, we need results at the tour.
Yep.
And that is what our season lives and dies on, ultimately.
Okay.
But I reckon you could be right there. Ethan Hayter, he's kind
I
of...
hope I'm wrong, but I think he needs a better environment, and Quickstep's not it.
Speaking of better environments, great environment, this young Frenchman who I reckon is going to be a flop. He's leaving FDJ and he's off to Bahrain victorious. Lenny Martinez, yours truly, the 52 kilo, 168 centimetre Frenchman. I can't see this kid becoming the next big thing. He's touted like in the whole Tour de l'Avenir documentary they've done over a number of years of they had Lenny and he was this big climbing hope.
50 centimetres and 50 kilos, mate. You're doing nothing. You need to be in the absolute what's per kilo needs to be through the roof.
He's 21, so he's got a long time to go, but I just cannot see him.
Yeah.
He could morph into a sort of another Kenny Ellison potentially, but I just cannot see him becoming this GC powerhouse that they obviously have signed him up for. And, he was pretty vocal. He was at Group Armour for 2 years. He was at their Conti team for a number of years.
That's true.
He was like, no, I want to get out of here. I want to go. And obviously, I think with Bahrain as well, I'm hearing Haig maybe exploring other avenues as well because, he's there and everyone's sort of, I don't know, the Bahrain, they had a terrible year, mate.
They suck.
They had one of the worst years in the World Tour. They stayed mid-tier team, but for the budget where they are, they really, they had a great Tour de France a couple of years ago with Matej Mohoric, but they just didn't come to promise this year, did it?
No, they didn't. Bahrain, I mean, the backers, what is it, the Bahrain Sovereign Fund or something? They'd be absolutely fuming. They would be fuming. So let's see if they can, pick him up. I was worried when you said Frenchman, you were talking about Alaphilippe, and I was like, oh no, my man at Tudor. Oh, he's going to be juicy. But our next segment, we're going to In the Gun. But of course, this is Tom McCracken and Jethro Gummy-Nagle, Roadside, presented by Zwift.
Righto, mate. In the Gun, you've been sitting on it all day. What have you got for me?
I actually haven't. I thought about it in the car on the way here. I was actually mowing a big lawn today, a big park. It took like 2 hours to mow. And I was sitting there just like cutting lines, mate, just cutting lines in the MCG. And I was trying to think of what could I put it in the gun, and I just couldn't think of anything. And then I thought about it on the way home. My In the Gun is to anyone and everyone in a Group 2 or Group 3 scenario in a race, particularly if you're a race at C grade, at Splendid Park, or any grade, because this is what people need to learn, right? If you are in Group 2 or Group 3 or Group 4, right, and you've got 10 riders in there, 15 riders, if you cannot get across to the leading group on your own or with one other rider or two other riders, then guess what? Everyone in that group that you're in is now your teammate. They are your teammate. If the gap is like a minute, you just can't get there on your own. You need everyone in that group. So don't go pulling turns with everyone in the gutter. Don't pull a turn with everyone lined out behind you and then look around, flick the elbow and think people will come through, because you just melted them. And then you just stuck me in the gutter. I don't want to come through. What you need to do is just imagine it's a handicap race when it's in that situation. Everyone's your teammate. Look after them. Get it to the right side of the road. If there's crosswinds, let everyone fan across to the left. They've got a bit of draft. Don't pull too hard. Keep an eye on everyone and let them roll through, and then encourage. Because I sprayed a lot of people out there in C grade on the weekend.
Oh, a few words of affirmation were there, mate.
There was a lot, but I gave encouragement once we got it right. So that's the key. Is if you do get dropped and you've got to chase back to a group, don't panic. Look at everyone. Try and get them all on terms. And you can ride together. There's just no point nuking it.
Geez, the things I'd say to you if you were trying to give me some unsolicited advice in a crit, mate, I'd be quick on the tongue back. I'd say you can find your own. And there I would be in the gutter just absolutely hurting.
You've just been dropped like me, mate. What are you talking about? But I remember, Tommy, you don't remember this, is when our cycling careers crossed paths. I was rising up, you were coming on the fall. But Collie Donnybrook, I was trying to look for the scorecard. I was looking for the results because I thought I was finishing ahead of you.
What year was it?
I couldn't find it, mate. The results weren't there.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it, but I know I finished ahead of you in this race. But I remember you'd been dropped from the scratch group, and I would think I was just being dropped from, the 10-minute group or something. And we'd come together in a little group, and you yelled, Gruppetto.
I called it, did I?
You called it.
Yeah, I think I had a bit of experience calling Gruppetto. I knew one when I saw it, mate.
And I didn't know what that meant. So I got on the front. I had no idea what the fuck Gruppetto was. I got on the front, started driving it. Yeah, we got 10 Ks left. We've all been in the bin chopping off 110 Ks, a bloody collie Donnybrook. And then I took a drink on the front. I was thirsty. And I think you rolled up next to me and said, don't take a drink on the front, mate. So maybe it was you. I just remember there was a dome guy there and you rolled up next to me and said, don't take a drink on the front. I was like,
I think I cramped on the climb on the way up. I'd had a few sherbets the night before.
Oh, I was
We'd driven
looking.
down to Collie. It might have been the year that I think even like Benny and Guy duked it out for the win that year.
Yeah.
And I was in a sorry state on the start line and it might have been a bit wet. Anyway, bad times.
I spent an hour, mate, looking for that result sheet and I could find every edition except that one. And I just wanted to send it to you one night.
You would have sprinted on the line as well.
I sprinted for 54th. I know I did. Did out Coalfields Drive.
Well, my in the guns blokes who sprint out of Gruppetto on the line. Absolute flogs. Was that you at the crit over the weekend?
Oh, no, I did. I got dropped with 2 laps to go, so I just rolled it in and watched the sprint from the other side of the course. Had I known it was 2 laps to go, I would have just found the extra, but I'd pulled a big turn.
What do you mean you didn't know there were 2 laps? They hold out sign?
No, not at this one. I didn't have my cycling computer. I was recording it on my watch. I had no idea what was going on. I was just,
Ill-prepared.
Yeah.
Well, look, mate, mind the gun. I want to see more racing around town on a Saturday. A lot of racing happens on a Sunday. I like doing my own things on a Sunday. It's a bit of a soft in the gun, but like, just put it out there.
A Saturday night?
Maybe not, but a Saturday morning or an arvo, I don't know. I quite like that. You know, if people want to do a bit of bike racing on the Saturday, then it just opens up the rest of your weekend. You know, because all the boys, they're holding back on the bunchies on Saturday. I'm not holding back on the bunchie. I've only got one choice that I can make, mate, and it's full noise, or I am. That's my weekend blowing up.
Yeah.
So, also, mate, how about this? On the weekend, puppers, I didn't even get on. Me and Stephen Gallagher, who's one of the coaches at Canyon, at Stram.
Canyon Stram Crypto? I can't remember what it is now. Yep.
We didn't even get on, mate. We jumped on, and there's Brady Gilmore and the boys just absolutely torching it. And I didn't get on. So that's in my gun is these young shits who aren't letting people get on the bunch.
We just pumped Brady Gilmore's tyres up for like 8 hours straight to a remote river and he just rips past you on pumpers. Sorry, mate. Thanks for the good word.
Yeah, I copped a serve and I deserved it. There you go.
I've got to get on pumpers. My training with the Zwift Ride, I'm now motivated to get on there and do a bit of ergo, Tommy. So,
do a bit of ergo, mate. My grand final, Boxing Day puppers, it's fast approaching. Can I do it? I don't know.
You got to get to Peel on December 8th. But hey, final words that we've got to say, Tommy. We've actually got some big news that we will be launching next episode. I think we can share the first run with regards to the big dance at the start of January and then the other big dance coming a bit later on. So, all right, Tommy, this is Roadside presented by Zwift. Thanks for listening, everyone. Jethro, Gary Nagel, Tom McCracken. We'll see you in a fortnight.